Hello everyone, Josh Castle from the Monroe County Public Library here. I'm going to talk to you about another source of free digital media creation software which you can use at your home. It's available for any platform, that is Windows, Mac, or Linux. Unfortunately, I don't believe it has a mobile component at this point, but either way it's called Krita, and you can get it from krita.org. And on the website here, you'll see different projects that people have done with it, such as sketches, paintings, color work. You can do graphics with it, vector and raster. So it could replace something like Photoshop or Illustrator. So once you get it installed, we'll talk about how to use it for something like coloring your photos. So if you have some line art or if you have something that you need to illustrate, perhaps you're making something that's like a rough draft. This is a perfect process to use for that. And what this is called is applying a Colorized Mask. So once you get it installed, I'll go ahead and open it up here, and I'll be back with that in just a moment. So this is what the user interface of Krita looks like. Whenever you're in the application, you can go to File and open up here. You can also use this folder here, and you have a recent set of documents here as well. What I'm going to do is actually open up something I've already made. So let's wait for that to open here. And what we have is some line art. I'm not sure if you can tell what this is on your end, but this is actually a cat here. This is my cat, and I'm going to hide the line art and show the picture. This is my cat, Eliza. So her beautiful face I have turned into line art here, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is use this program to color in these little sections of her face that I've made here. So I'm going to put in, some pinks where her nose is, some black where her irises are, and what the program's going to do is Colorized Mask is actually an algorithm which tries to find these edges here, represented by your line art, and it fills in the color in the space in between, which saves you a lot of time on doing coloring. It can also be used as just like a general artistic effect. But let's start this. So I'm going to go up to the upper layer, and actually I'm going to take some time to point out this layer menu on the right. This is much like Photoshop if you've ever used that. Illustrator, again, the same way. You have different layers which you can show, hide, lock. You can do different effects to them, which is what the Colorized Mask is. There are different colors up here, which is like a color wheel picker. You have the menu options up top, and then on the left-hand side here, you have your main tools, which are things like shape tools, brushes, and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and add a Colorized Mask. And you can either right-click or use this down arrow by the plus sign in the Layers menu. So I'm going to right-click it, then click Add Colorized Mask. And at the start, it's going to appear that this hasn't really done anything, but we are not on the right brush, so we just have our default brush selected. It's called Freehand Brush Tool. There's one about 3/4 of the way down. You may have to use your scroll wheel to get down to it. It's called the Colorized Mask Editing Tool, and that's the tool we want for the job. So I'm going to click this, and you can see once I activate this layer, it's placed this kind of hazy mask over everything, which is important to note because the way that the color picker works in some programs, and Krita as well, is whenever you select color, it actually samples the color that it's looking at. So it's going to get this kind of white filter of the mask. If you hide the layer by clicking the little eye on the Colorized Mask layer, you can actually sample the color directly from your layer. And if you don't want to do that and you want to get more creative, you can actually pick a custom value here and color in using that. So to demonstrate all this, we'll actually get started. Let me just bump up the opacity of the bottom layer. I had that changed earlier, but I need to see the details now. So what I'm going to do actually is pick the first color. I already have this pink hue picked here, so I'm going to use that for the nose here. And basically all you do is just click in the picture, and you can use any brush for this. You can see that I'm going to get really kind of not super accurate here. And let's go ahead and show something here from this, or that we have to consider when using this process. So you can see I have the nose here, and let's get some of her fur in the middle, and that's like a white color, so let's put that in there. Actually came out a little bit more brown than what I thought it would, but let's just go ahead and apply these two colors to this and see what happens. So I have this brown, which is supposed to be representing this section of her face here in the middle above her nose, and we have the pink of her nose. And to apply it, we're going to look at the layers menu, and on the very right of the Colorized Mask layer there's this little rolling wheel. It's kind of like a calculation thing. It's saying like this is what you press to process this algorithm. So I'm going to hit that, and it does take a little bit of time to finish up, so you may have to let it run. If you have a slower or older system, it may take a little bit longer, but if you just wait for it, it should be done before you know it. So it is important to wait. I've tried to rush the process before, and that definitely does not work. So now that we have these applied, there's a button next to the process button, and it's like this little thing that becomes like half of an X line whenever it's not, or whenever you want to use it. So it's right next to this. I'm not sure that it really has a name, but it's just kind of like apply the effect. So we're going to hit that, and you can see what it's actually done here is the algorithm has applied the color to the nose, and it's actually spilled out over here, and then the one in her face has gone everywhere. The thing is that the algorithm is not perfect. It really takes a lot of details for it to be perfect, but the more areas that you sample, so if I went and got her eye here, her iris, different parts of her forehead, you'll start seeing those areas affected too. So to show you what I mean by that, we're going to do a couple more steps here. So I'm actually going to color pick her eye, the iris here, turn on the mask, and then do a little bit of coloring in the mask area. I don't think I have the layer selected properly. Oh, this is important. So to do any editing, we have to actually click the area where we were by the process button here, and this is just so we can go back into edit mode. So I'm going to click that, and you can see now that it's not grayed out, you're out of edit mode. So I still have that black selected. I'm going to fill in her iris here. I'm going to get some of this white color and put it in this little shiny part here. Make sure that the layer is active, otherwise you're not going to color anything on there. So let's hide the layer again. Let's pull some more samples here. Turn the mask back on. Rinse and repeat. So I'm just going to do this a couple more times here. Zoom in here. Let's try to get a little bit different color. You may need to adjust your brush size to get into these areas. This one's real small, so we're just going to go in here and get that. And then let's get a different color and turn the layer back on. I'm going to make like a little X here. It doesn't really matter what shape you use. Just make sure that it's inside of the area that you want it to color. I'm going to fill in this here with a color that I selected. And I'm going to get this area. And just color that all in. Oh, I wasn't very careful there, so I can Control V, or Control Z, sorry, just like in any other program, and or Command V or Z to undo. And let's get this a little bit more smoothly, so I'm not coloring everywhere and doing stuff I'm not wanting to do. And let's do that. And after I do a couple more of these, here I'll just sample one more. We can process this and see what it looks like now. So let the process run again. Now something to note is on the second run through, or if you're doing this on the first run through and you have more details filled in initially, it might actually take more time to process the job. So be aware of that. It could take several minutes here. Oh, so I shouldn't have closed that probably before we finished, but all right, so what we have here is you can start to see in this preview mode that it's noticed this X and it's started to fill in a darker color here. It's noticed these scribbles here, right? It's noticed the iris and things like that. So if we go ahead and apply the process here after it's calculated everything and kind of analyzed everything, we can see something start to take shape. So now, if we hide this and we look at her face, we can see that, you know, it has made these dark areas around her eye here. It has filled in a darker area here, and it's kept her nose pink. So now, if we go through and we do a lot more of those fine details, so for instance, if I went in and picked this nice amber color around her eye here, and I'm going to bump my brush size up a little bit here, and then color, I had to have the layer selected, color it in here, and I also have to have it, editing enabled, so let's re-enable editing, and put that in there. And I actually noticed that this part's a little bit darker, so I'm going to put this right over here. Let's get this area here, and let's get creative here. Let's get this area, and go back to the mask here, and then let's get some of her eye parts here, so we can show this. I'm going to get this spot here, and I'm going to do rinse and repeat for these other parts here. And I should mention you can use any brush for this. I'm using this like soft brush, or I mean like I'm using like a soft pattern in a brush, but you do have to have the color mask editing tool selected. But you can do a harder line. Mine just kind of looks like spray paint, but that shouldn't matter too much. So I'm going to fill that in. Now that we have those done, let's recalculate everything here and give that a few moments. Once again, it's probably going to take a little bit longer. You can see underneath the layer area that there's actually a little progress bar here. It tells you how far along it's coming. And we're about halfway there, so let's let this finish up. And before long, you'll be able to see a very nice colored picture of this line art that I made. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and apply it and look at it. So let's get out of the edit mode. And you can see that now we have that beautiful gold area of her eye. We have that spot where it was darker, that spot where it was browner. And if I went through and colored in each of these different areas here, and if I had a much more detailed drawing, you can see where this can really start being very powerful. You can just do quick little squiggles as demonstrated by in the edit mode here. So you can see these quick little squiggles, and you can really start turning it into something really cool looking very, very fast. So let's get rid of the area that was around her. We want to do something with the border so it's not so brown. So I'm just going to go back in the edit mode. I got some of this cover area here, and I'm going to color pick that. Let's make this like some of this gold color up here, because we have artistic discretion like that. So I'm going to put that up there, and let's get some of this right here. And you can see I'm being very, very artistic with this, not being super careful with how I'm applying things. So the more careful you are, the more detail that you have, the better it's going to look. But, you know, that's not really my artistic style, I guess. So now that we have this done, as you can see, once again, it's a very beautiful piece of art. Let's go ahead and reprocess it and see, you know, what applying these kind of garbage squiggles to the outside border here does for our image. And I think we'll find that it frames it in very nicely. It'll help demonstrate as well that, like you saw in this eye area, if you specify an area specifically, like if here I have that kind of beige color, but if I did another line parallel to that and I made it like red or something, like right here, it would try to figure out how to make red make sense. So maybe half of this would be the beige color, and then this left half would be a red color. So now let's go look at our image, and I've turned off, or I need to zoom back in here. So now you can see that after filling in those extra details, we have those places like the nose, we have that chin area that was different, we have her little muzzle area that was different, we have the white of the iris, and I could do a little white spot on this side. I could sample more colors and then do specific spots. The bigger the marking, the more it's gonna prioritize color in that area. So maybe we want to make this smaller, and we can do, strokes over here to give some kind of like definition, some variety here. But now you can see that how using this colorized mask, you can really do very quick work of applying a lot of different colors. So you can do things like base layers. You can do things like mock-ups, or tests and things like that. Or you can create something like this piece of art here and have a nice artistic effect. So I encourage you to do a project like this. Draw your beautiful animals, make better line art than this, show it to us, really dig around in Krita here, because there's a lot of things that you can do. Like I said, it's akin to Photoshop or Illustrator, so it's really quite powerful. But that said, I really appreciate you joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. All right, bye.